welcome to the Elevate Your World podcast. I'm your host, Jules, and we're talking about personal branding in today's episode. Now, when thinking about memorable brands, businesses or companies like Apple, Coca-Cola, Nike might come to your mind. They've just come to my mind. But building a brand isn't just for these big companies. Any business today needs to be thinking about how it represents itself to the world. Your personal brand is what makes you stand out. It defines who you are and what you do and sets you apart from others in your field. It showcases your unique value and how you can help customers. It's the reason they buy from you and not someone else. People remember you before they remember your products or services. And developing a strong personal brand brings huge advantages to your business. But it also helps build your confidence in your own work as you focus on what you do well and how you help people. And the thing is, a personal brand is essential for one-person businesses, i.e. a coach or a consultant, where their personal interaction with clients is key, or even for creatives who are directly tied to the work they sell. In the early stages of developing a personal brand, people often make the mistake of jumping in like right away and start creating content, establishing, your social media presence and even getting a website and all those logos and all those things. But before you can start to execute, you must sit down and reflect. And the key to building a strong personal brand is finding out what makes you shine and why your audience needs to hear from you. You have to understand your unique value in the marketplace. When developing your personal brand, you can follow the lead of the big brands, Apple, Nike, etc. They don't create a logo, design their packaging, or launch a website until they've developed their brand. So first things they would usually do is, the big businesses, is they would conduct a brand audit with the key stakeholders, asking them to define the company's core values, mission, the vision. Once they complete this information and they refine it, then they create the brand guidelines. Now, you don't need to go as far as the big companies, those big brands, but you can use their methods to guide you as you develop your own personal brand. Now, so these are a few steps that will get you started. So brand values, that's finding out what is important to you. What do you value? What are you passionate about? This will help you create a vision for the future, and it provides you with focus as you work towards your goals. Then there's brand personality, and that's defining your key personality traits, envisioning your best self. These are the characteristics that create an emotional connection with your audience. Going on to brand identity. So this, once you've got the brand values and the brand personality, this is now where we can get to the bit where most people want to get to, which is the fun part, the creative part. You can now start to develop your look, the design, the colours, imagery, fonts that represent your brand. And some of the things are your profile photo. Most likely the first step will be establishing social media with an existing account if you're rebranding, or just start fresh with a new account. When you look at your profile photo, does it represent your personal brand? If you are conveying a serious, dependable image, your photo would need to actually reflect that. Or if you're fun and quirky and outgoing, then again, is your profile photo representing that? Then you've got your color palette. So when branding, companies work with a color palette. So using one dominant color and maybe another couple of colors to complement it. The color you choose is key here. Again, if you are serious and dependable, I would say hot pink might not be your colour. It might not reinforce that. As you might know, well, I hope you probably noticed by now, purple is the Elevate colour, and it is also my personal brand colour as well. Fonts. You have some flexibility with fonts, but avoid anything that is in direct contrast to your brand. For example, if your brand is modern, futuristic, minimalistic, like that, stay away from fonts that are traditional or ornate, and stick to simpler fonts like sans serif fonts. Now, logos. So if you do decide to create a logo for your personal brand, again, make sure that there isn't a disconnect. Make sure it does reflect your personal brand well. And then there's the website. All of everything that I've just said above, fonts, colours, photos, everything, all the above elements should be considered when creating your website. So if you have a blog, the tone should also be in line with your brand personality. Are you authoritative? Are you serious? Are you fun? Now, many people assume, and this is understandably so, that their personal brand is all about them. But there's somebody else who needs to be factored into this equation. That's your target audience. You do 100%, you need to stay true to yourself, your values and your unique offering. But you also need to initiate a two-way conversation. This is a give and take relationship. As much as you want your audience to know you, you must also know them. Who is your target audience? When determining your target, remember that they should fall into at least one of these categories. People who will pay for your services, products, skills, expertise. And then there's people who will tell others to pay for your services, products, skills, and expertise. And then your supporters or fans. And remember, if you try to appeal to everyone, this one is so key. If you try to appeal to everyone, you end up appealing to no one. So you really do need to take time to consider these questions about your target audience. Who are they? And it's good to create a detailed description of your audience. Consider the demographics, age, income, education, geographic location, which country are they in, and so forth. Where will you find them? And once you understand what makes your audience tick, figure out where they are. For example, based on your research, which social media platforms are they actually on, or which ones do they prefer? And what motivates them? What drives them? What are they afraid of? What are their problems? What do they want from you and your content? How can you build that relationship with them? Yeah, identify the elements of your story, because we all have a personal story that your audience will relate to. What kind of communication do they prefer? How can you speak to them so they can feel heard? Finally, consistency. This, for personal branding, consistency is key here. And it's more important than likability or that wow factor or image. Human beings, we love consistency. We are hardwired to recognize patterns, sequences, and this helps us to connect ideas, learn and remember, basically. That's why consistency is so key in your personal branding. If you don't create recognizable patterns for our audience, we will lose them. So brand consistency makes clear who you are and the value you add. It prevents an audience from disconnecting with you. If you do something that they perceive as out of character, it shakes their trust in your brand. These are just a few ways to keep your brand consistent. Number one is to be authentic. I'm sure I've used that word already, but it's when you hear personal branding, authenticity, that word should just always come up. Your personal brand should reflect who you truly, truly are and not who you think you should be. If you are authentic when developing your personal brand, maintaining consistency will be so much easier. Choosing your topics. Now, your words, videos, social media posts, stories should always be aligned with your brand's mission and goals. Be selective. Now, be selective with the platforms that you use. Not all platforms complement your personal brand or meet the needs of your audience. So you may not need to be on TikTok. I know everyone's running onto TikTok as an example, but your brand may not need to be on there. But it's down to obviously you doing your research and finding out where your audience is. So don't waste time and energy basically in the wrong places. Make sure your tone and personality are consistent across all the platforms you do use. Use the same voice across the board. You can adjust slightly based on the platform, I guess, but it should always sound like you. It should be you. The last one, finally, engage with your audience on a regular basis. Consistency also does refer to frequency. If your communications are sporadic, random, in once in a blue moon, then this does create a disconnect. Reply to comments, reply to direct messages, etc. All of that stuff. Just be connected to your audience. Right. So if you would like some help with your personal branding, as usual, we are available on our website, elevatestudio.uk.com. You can book us for a consultation, which is a free initial 15-minute consultation. And we can go through your brand, your business, and what your goals are. And we can show you how Elevate can actually help you. Thank you for listening to this episode on personal branding. I will see you on the next episode.